All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the other side of the coin, and welcome back to yet another installment of your Chelsea latest news. Let's get cracking on. Lots to go through, ladies and gentlemen, lots to get updated on. So without further ado, let's get in on the action. First up, Chelsea deny a claim that the club are working on a deal to effectively sell their Cobham training base back to themselves. So obviously, over the past 24 hours, we've been hearing the rumor from many different sources that potentially Chelsea are looking to sell Cobham Training Ground to themselves. So obviously, at the moment, Chelsea Football Club own Cobham Training Ground, but they're looking to sell it to Blue Co, which is the overall umbrella owner of the entire multi-club model, Chelsea, Strasbourg, and so on and so forth. We've also heard in recent times that Blue Co are trying to do same things with a couple of hotels that Chelsea own as well. All of this to help out, in a financial fair play point of view. Chelsea's got a lot of debt, and everything needs to be balanced by 30th of June this particular season, this particular year. And one of the quickest way of doing that is perhaps maybe asset stripping Chelsea and selling it to your own selves, potentially. So, look, apparently that claim is not true. This is coming from Matt Law, but I do feel a lot of people out there taking this very, very negatively without really understanding the entire, context of the matter. Look, Chelsea, whether you like the whole asset stripping or not, the bottom line is Chelsea are in financial trouble. And one of the best ways and the quickest ways before the deadline comes on, because if we don't meet the financial fair play rules and regulation, the sustainability rules, if we don't bring our debt down by 30th of June this year, we're going to cop massive, massive fines and potentially points deduction for next season, which is going to be horrendous, which is going to be detrimental. So from that perspective, I think the Chelsea owners have found themselves another loophole or another quick way of getting this sorted without selling players immediately. I think down the track, we're going to need to sell players anyway. But for now, this is another mechanism, another financial mechanism. Just like, I suppose, how Barcelona had the economic levers, these are probably another mechanisms to help rectify our financial situation. So look, apparently that's not true, but I feel like there is something there. In the upcoming days, we'll get to see and hear a lot more about this. So let me know how you feel about the whole asset stripping situation. Me personally, I don't think it's as bad as people make it look like. Look, I've said it many times. There's a lot of things that I don't like about the owners. Lots of things, several reasons there are that for me not to like the owners. But from a financial standpoint, I think these owners, they're quite savvy as to what they need to do to protect Chelsea in the long run. Breaking, Chelsea FC are considering a sale of stake in the highly successful women's team. A lot of people getting very upset about this. You got the hotels, you've got the training ground, now the women's team as well. You want to strip the women's team too from Chelsea? You want to sell that off? People are getting very, very angry without, once again, truly understanding the depth of this matter. Chelsea could target a valuation of 200 million or more in any deal for stake in the women's team. 200 million is a lot of money in women's team. Apparently the women's team, they're not in profit. They're making a loss, and they've been making a loss for a while now. So one of the key reasons, and don't forget, this isn't selling the entire women's team. Sale of a stake. So not really just putting the entire women's team up for sale. There's a stake. If you want to be an investor, you can buy part of the women's team. Why? Because the women's team doesn't make enough profit. And if you're one of those investors that's keen on seeing success for the women's team, you might have that passion to buy a share and actually do something about this, football side, the women's side of the game. Here's a little bit more interesting information. Check this out. Chelsea fan accountability. More info since it's behind a paywall. Essentially, it's a good move because women's football operates at a loss. So getting investors increased ability to grow the women's team. Olympique Lyon, which have one of the most successful women's teams, have done the same. So let's check this out. Women's and men's football team in Europe are generally owned under the same umbrella club, but this year, American businesswoman Michelle Kang became the majority owner of France's Olympique Lyon Feminine. It was one of the first signs that the model of women's football ownership in Europe might evolve um, toward more teams being controlled by groups whose priority is the women's rather than the men's game. Chelsea is not interested in selling its women's team outright, according to one of the people. Discussions are at a preliminary stage and there is no certainty they'll result in any transaction. The people said, asking not to be identified, discussing confidential information. Representatives for Chelsea and Mercury 13 declined to comment. Chelsea has one of the most successful women's team in English football under the leadership of manager Emma Hayes. It's competing to win its fifth successive domestic league title, and this season drew a near capacity crowd of more than 39,000 for UEFA Women's Champions League semi-final against FC Barcelona Feminine. If you guys remember, that was a sellout at Stamford Bridge. While women's football in England is growing fast in terms its teams are mostly loss-making as they continue to look for ways to grow revenue streams. Chelsea Football Club Women Limited made a pre-tax loss of 4.1 million, 5.2 million pounds, that is, during its financial year through June 2023, on a revenue of 8.8 million, according to the most recent accounts filed at the UK's Companies House. So you can see the reason this is being done is purely to make the women's team far more, sustainable from a financial standpoint. You can't be running the club, you can't be running the team in a loss. So once again, people that are getting so upset, oh my God, no, not again, another thing that's getting sold. No, it's for the betterment of the club. Cannot sustain if they continue having losses season in, season out, the women's team will disappear. This is once again a smart move from our owners to potentially get investors that are interested in the women's side and looking to perhaps further that team. So look, once again, I don't see anything negative about that. Let me know, ladies and gentlemen, what you think about that situation. So we've just read that part. Now, next up, ladies and gentlemen, some information in regards to Paul Winstanley and Laurence Stewart. Paul Winstanley and Laurence Stewart are safe ahead of next week's end-of-season review and will lead the club's summer spending. So there you go. The model ain't going to change. Every one of us that are screaming for these directors to leave, it's not going to happen. Get used to it. Get used to the owners. I have to start getting used to it. Look, obviously, we're going to voice our opinions where we feel the direction, the vision of the club is not adequate to win something substantial, but I think we need to also accept the fact that these guys are not going to go anywhere. If anything, the review is really just going to be purely based on Mauricio Pochettino. These directors, our owners seem to like them a lot, and I think our owners not that long ago has also said that just as much we are investing on the players and looking at their potential, we're also doing the same thing with directors. We're looking at their potential to grow and become superstar directors down the track. Now, Enzo Fernandez has spoken, ladies and gentlemen. This is what he had to say. Enzo backs Pochettino. When I arrived at Chelsea, it was a mess. There were many players. Mauricio brought order and identity to the team. The work ethic is different. It changed everything, and it's positive. The group is more serious and hardworking. So look, I guess indirectly having a dig at Potter as well, saying that, group is more serious this time as opposed to last time. Look, yeah, you could feel under Graham Potter it wasn't the same. I know Enzo Fernandez actually played well under Graham Potter, but you could tell the group wasn't serious last season, and that might have been because of the fact that we had so many players in the squad. The other thing that I want to say about this whole situation is that it's clear, as I've said so many times recently, it's clear to see that players really like Mauricio Pochettino. They do. So when we're thinking about getting rid of Pochettino, we have to also consider the fact that these players, maybe they believe in this manager and maybe good things might come next season. Who knows? So for Enzo to speak in this manner so highly, it just shows. And, this season we've seen Enzo hasn't had a successful season. And I think partly because of the way he's being utilized by Mauricio Pochettino. Yet he's got some really, really good words to say about Mauricio Pochettino. Now, furthermore, Enzo Fernandez speaks out. I was playing with pain and injections for 8 months. I had to make the decision to have surgery. It was the best I was harming the team and didn't want to expose myself. Now, this is interesting because a lot of people getting upset about this, that why did Poch a month just before when Enzo Fernandez went for his surgery, why did Poch come out publicly and say, I've not made anyone play with pain? You know that particular clip of Mauricio Pochettino where he claims, I've not forced anyone to play with pain. That is ridiculous. That is rubbish. I'm not having it. Yet we've got Enzo Fernandez coming up and saying that he was playing in pain. Now, the question is Pochettino forcing the player to play with pain? I honestly, personally think that is ludicrous. Why would the manager, knowing that this player is in pain, and don't forget, this manager actually doesn't know how to utilize Enzo Fernandez, why would this manager force Enzo Fernandez to play? One, I don't utilize him well. I think recent results have proven that. Two, the player's in pain. Why should I be using him? So this whole thought process, and once again, look, I'm not sitting here backing Pochettino. You know how much I don't like Pochettino. I still think, we should get a far better manager next season. I still think that. But to sit here and actually say that Pochettino forced Enzo Fernandez to play, no. I think the onus should have been on Enzo Fernandez. Look, some people may look at that and say, look, that's brilliant bravery from Enzo Fernandez. Excuse me. To play with pain. That shows how much he cares about Chelsea. No problems. That's great. But at the same time, Enzo, look, why? It wasn't as if we were going to achieve anything special. I know now we're trying to rectify the situation, but once again, it's not special. It's good that we're going to hopefully try and make it to Europa, but it's not like special, right? No, we're not going for something big. You should have just taken the surgery a long time back, as opposed to playing with pain, which ultimately did expose you. So I personally think, Mauricio Pochettino wasn't forcing him. I think it's Enzo Fernandez that's putting his hand up and saying, I want to play, which is great bravery, great bravado showed from Enzo Fernandez. But overall, I think it was foolish. There is a growing sense at Chelsea that Mauricio Pochettino deserves to stay in charge with this comeback win over Nottingham Forest, strengthening his hand before a summer summit with the club's hierarchy. Look, of course, every single win that he's picking up now is going to further strengthen his case to be there for next season. I think the bare minimum expectation, well, certainly for me, was at least make it to 6th and get yourself to Europa. Then we can try and build on that off the back of coming 12th last season. I know the kind of transfer window that we had in the summer, it did make me believe that perhaps Champions League football was viable, but not to be. And I still think the squad's good enough to make Champions League football. Having said that, next season, 100% you have to make Champions League football. Now, if Poch does stick around, which is quite likely, by November, December, if we are nowhere near the Champions League positions, I think he will need to go. But I get it. Every win that's coming up now, it's further strengthening his case to be there next season. And I suppose rightly so. You need to be somewhat rewarded if you get the minimum bare expectations. Chelsea's players are behind Mauricio Pochettino. The majority do not want him to be sacked. As I said, a lot of players speak very highly about Mauricio Pochettino. Seriously, publicly. Nicholas Jackson, Enzo Fernandez, Chukwuemeka, Cucurella, and many more. All of these players have come out publicly, and I know some of these players, they did the same thing last season as well. Look how that turned out to be. But there was a lot more rumors last season, I feel, where players were a little bit disgruntled about the whole situation. Players were a little bit disrespectful towards Graham Potter and his lack of, I suppose, stature. You don't hear that many rumors about Pochettino this season. It's far more focused and it makes me believe that these players actually are buying into what Pochettino has to say. Chelsea are targeting a left back, striker, and a centre back, and may look at the goalkeeping position. I think these are the positions we've talked about in recent times. It makes sense. Striker and centre back, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly, striker and a centre-back, obviously, Thiago Silva leaving, potentially Chalobah. I don't want him to go, but it looks like pure profit. And we're going to need to balance our books for next financial year. Not maybe this one. This one, we might be getting lucky with the hotels and the training ground being sold to Blueco. But next financial period, you can't be pulling out these tricks every time. You're going to have to sell players, which means we will need to buy new players. So striker, centre-back, left back, look, potentially, yes. Cucurella is probably now staying at the football club. We can see the tactical tactical fluidness that we can get with Cucurella. Chilwell is one who I think is a big question mark. I don't think he's capable enough to play left back anymore. He's touted to be a left winger, which I don't think is wise. So I can understand the links of a left back. Goalkeeper, 100% as well. Look, as much as Petrovic has done okay this season, I think ultimately he's not your creme de la creme when it comes to goalkeeping abilities. Chelsea have spoken to the agents of Osimhen and Sesko. These are the two strikers that are seriously linked with us. Osimhen for the longest of time, and you guys all know how I feel about Osimhen, would fit in like a glove. I think he's perfect Pochettino type of a striker. The biggest issue is obviously the transfer fee and his wages. Sesko, on the other hand, younger. Not that Osimhen is that old. I think Osimhen's 25, going to be turning 26, so it's still decent enough age. Sesko is obviously younger. The transfer fee is lower, and the wages potentially going to be a lot lower than Osimhen. So look, I don't want Sesko. I know Sesko in recent times has actually done really well. I get that, but I feel like Sesko is another one of those strikers that's developing, and I don't need more developing strikers. I need strikers that's going to come in and do the job, and I feel like Osimhen is in that boat at the moment where he's ready to take and lead Chelsea Football Club from the front. Chelsea prepares new proposal, and Estevão Willian could become the biggest sale in Brazilian football. The English are willing to offer up to £55.8 million. 55. Like, this is where, you know how we find ourselves in this financial mess where we're having to sell the training ground, the hotels, this, that, the other, players as well. This whole fetish about bringing in all of these South Americans, Brazilians, Argentinians, Ecuadorians, kids, and investing so much. Look, I've got no issue if you're investing on gems, superstar kids, a reasonable amount of money. 55.8 million on a 17-year-old who we're not even going to get next season. We're going to get the season after. And what a gamble to take. I know, I get it. Everyone's saying he's the next Messi, this, that, the other. He's Messinho, little Messinho. Come on, man. Really? Is that what we need? Trying to fix our future when we don't even know the state of the present. I've got no issues in getting these type of players, but half that price, 55.8 million. For a player we're not going to be utilizing next season. That, for me, is mad. Let me know your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Chelsea remain excited by the potential of midfielder Andre Santos. Look, this is another one of those gems that we had. So we've got a lot of gems. It's not like we don't. We've got plenty. This is particular one player. Look, he's impressed me a lot. Even in the preseason for Chelsea, he's impressed me heaps. Scored the late winner yesterday in a local derby, I believe, Strasbourg versus Metz, I think. Scored a 90-plus minutes winner late on, Andre Santos. A lot of people actually said that he actually didn't have a very good game, but obviously ended up scoring the winner. Look, there are rumors that he's potentially going to get another loan to Strasbourg next season, which is also not bad. Consistent game time and further developing his game. I was thinking at one point that perhaps a player like him would serve us well in midfield as a rotational piece. He could learn a lot. He could obviously get the Premier League experience. But maybe Pochettino might not fancy a player like him. He's sort of in the mold of more in the defensive side of things, but in the same mold of Enzo Fernandez as well. Similar sort of structure, similar physique, and similar sort of playing style, in my opinion. So maybe Pochettino may not fancy having two Enzos when he can't even figure out one Enzo. And on top of that, I think we're quite stacked in midfield. So look, happy to see him at Strasbourg for another season, if it means that he will only develop. Chelsea and Andre Santos will now discuss the future. There's a real chance he will be sent back to Strasbourg for another season on loan. So I'm fine either way. I do want to see him in the preseason though at Chelsea and see what he can bring. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, Kendrick Pires with a goal and an assist this evening to help his side win 2-1. This was last night UK time. This kid. I know his goal was a penalty, but we've all seen, what level of goals he's capable of scoring from long range, from different angles. He is a sensational kid, man. He is a superstar kid, and this kid is going to go places. Once again, this is not a particular player we're going to have next season. We're going to have him this season after, but Yeah, we've got plethora of talents, man. We've got plethora of talents for the future. How we all, plan it all out, develop each and every one of these players, that is what we need to see down the track. So let's see what happens. Obviously, I'm very, very excited about Kendry players, but at the same time, I'm thinking we need to have a proper development plan. We need to see how we're going to integrate them into the team and, help Chelsea Football Club down the track. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts about everything we spoke about. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. Smash the like button if you're here for the first time. Subscribe, hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. Till next time, everyone. Take care. See ya. Goodbye.